Welcome to the Collide Kids Podcast, hosted by Christen Clark. This is a show for kids and families. You are going to meet new people and have fun while you listen. Let's do it!
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the Collide Kids Podcast. I'm your host, Christen Clark. The Collide Kids Podcast is a show for kids and families where we learn together how life and faith collide. Man, I am so excited that you are here today. Before we get started, I just want to remind you about my other podcast that I just started this month called the 7-Minute Devotions for Busy Parents. And actually, last week I shared a bonus episode all about being bold in your faith. And you know what? One simple way to be bold in your faith is to share faith-filled content that encourages you and encourages your family and stuff that your family enjoys. So if you love what you hear today, or there's a special episode that we've shared before, would you just take a moment to share an episode of the Collide Kids Podcast with a friend or family member on your social media? It's such an easy way to spread encouragement and to help others grow in their faith. Now, as a person who grew up in the 80s and 90s, I am really excited about our guest today. His name is Howard Quiggly Chang. He is one of the original creative forces behind the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle toys back in the 80s and 90s. How cool is that? And after years in the toy industry, Quiggly built a successful business career, but about 10 years ago, he went through a powerful spiritual awakening that brought him back to his roots in art and storytelling with a whole new sense of purpose. Now, through Ancientz, a new brand he's building, he combines imagination, biblical inspiration, and creativity to bring heroes of truth, spirit, and courage to the next generation. You guys, Quiggly's story is full of faith and creativity, and I can't wait for you to hear it. So let's dive right in. Here is my conversation with Howard Quiggly Chang. Howard, I am so excited to have you on the Collide Kids Podcast today.
I'm just so lucky to be here with you today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This is so fun. I'm really excited to talk to you. Will you just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Okay, my name is Howard Chang. In the art world, I have a nickname. They call me Quiggly. I'll get into that later.
Okay.
But I was a Ninja Turtle toy designer back when I was younger, many, many years ago.
Uh-huh.
So I was part of the first wave of the Ninja Turtle toy craze.
Yeah.
And many years, decades later, here I am. I've created a new company with my wife, and we decided to bring something else to the world. It is called Ancientz. It's a vision that came to me 12 years ago, and is now coming out as a collectible figurine line, and hopefully get into toys and movies and get into everybody's home very soon.
Oh, I love this. I'm so excited. Okay, I have to tell you, I grew up in the 80s and 90s. My brother was a huge Ninja Turtle fan. So I know we had some of your toys I'm sure that you helped put together. Now, were you like the person that designed the toys or the idea? Like, how did that work?
Well, the original idea came from Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird. There's lots of stories about them. They're famous.
Okay.
They created a comic book called the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Out of their garage, out of their parents' house, they built this comic book. It did well. And then soon a toy company called Playmates was able to license it. And the whole toy craze came. And I personally believe the toys are actually the ones that really catapulted the IP into the stratosphere.
Right. And they're still here. I mean, that just shows you the phenomenon, right?
The new movies coming out.
Yeah.
New movies almost every year. So it's still a thing.
Okay, well, I'm excited to talk to you more about this. But before we do that, because this is a show for kids, I always ask my guests to tell me a joke. So do you have a joke to tell us today?
Yes, it's for kids.
Okay.
This is the hardest part of the whole podcast. I got to think about this joke. I heard it. I saw it. It was Bill Murray before he was going to hit a golf club. He said this joke.
Okay.
So there was a musician, a composer who came out with a lot of songs, and it was a time for him to die. So the people said, any last wishes? And he wanted every single one of his songs to be buried with him. And they're asking, why? Well, after I die, I want to spend my time decomposing.
That's good. I like that one. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, first of all, let's talk about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. How did you even get into that? Like, what led you to be a part of being the creative person with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? How'd you get that job?
It was really a bit of luck. Just graduated high school. My mom thought during that summer you needed a job. So, okay, cool. I looked around, I had a job at a video store lined up, and I was ready to go. My mom knew that I was always a good artist. I was a school newspaper artist. I won a bunch of awards, and she found a job in a newspaper for a sculptor. So I wasn't a sculptor, I was a sketch artist. So she got me some water clay. I sculpted up something. I went in for an interview and I got the job. They
Wow.
liked me, not for my sculpture, but they hired me on the spot. And that job just ended up somehow being 8 years of my life while going to college and working. And I've designed hundreds of toys for Ninja Turtles, Star Trek, Happy Meals during the 90s.
So when you were doing that, did it start with clay and then they would kind of reproduce it into something else?
Well, like I said, they hired me. I wasn't a sculptor. My old bosses, Steve Varner, Eddie Mosqueda, and some of the sculptors there, Alec McTurk, they're the ones that actually sculpted it. They sculpted it out of clay, not water clay.
Okay.
But I came in as someone who didn't sculpt, so they had me in the mold room for a month until Playmates Toys, who was commissioning Varner Studios to make all the toys, needed a sketch of one of the characters. And I did it for them real quick. Back then, we used something called fax machines.
Yes,
They would
I remember
fax
those.
over the phone.
Uh-huh.
They faxed it over. They loved it. And ever since then, I never made a mold. I just sat there in the room drawing, and I did hundreds of turtles.
That's amazing. Now, were you taking your inspiration from the comic book, or was there something else that inspired your sketches?
Well, the Ninja Turtle franchise, there was the first original 4 turtles. I didn't have any part in that. So the franchise did so well selling products, selling toys from Toys R Us and all the retailers, that I would do a lot of the mashups, like the basketball Ninja Turtle. I would come out with the Navy SEAL turtle. I would revisit some of the characters that they had and mash them up into something fun and creative. And I would come up with all these fun, creative mashups of the turtles with something else. But we did a lot of different original characters like Sergeant Bananas, Hotspot, which is a dog firefighter, and things like that.
That's so fun. That's amazing. And I think it sounds a little bit like Barbie, like how Barbie has all the different mashups with different things.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of the same.
But we had a lot more fun because we can just really mash them up.
And do crazy stuff.
Yeah.
That sounds like a really fun job.
It was. I mean, many decades later, Playmate still calls me up once in a while to do something. I'm doing something for them now. I can't talk about it.
Oh,
but I'm still doing some
we
stuff.
could be the exclusive. You could let us know.
Yeah, and I'll get fired and sued.
Oh, okay. We don't want that. We don't want that. Okay. Now you're creating this new toy line called Ancientz. Tell me how we jumped from turtles to robots.
Fast forward decades. There was a time, one of the lowest times in my life, 12 years ago. And when you reach a point in your life where things get hard, and a friend told me, you can't handle this, give it to God. And that was very interesting and confusing for me. So I tried it. And when I gave my problems, lifted it to God, I encountered him for the first time. And I learned how to pray. I learned how to depend on something more than myself. And from that point, I can honestly say my life changed. It's almost like the Matrix when you're living a life and you realize this wasn't really the life and there's a real life underneath.
Yeah.
So I had that moment. And then during that moment, I spent a lot of time in prayer. And you know how when I make that switch to a spiritual life, you end up finding your source of just strength, source of hope, and source of wisdom through God.
Right.
I also get a source of creativity and
Yeah.
ideas. And this is almost like a gold mine to me, because when I would pray, I would get ideas and images. I have a lot of images. And one of the things I was wrestling with 12 years ago, I was looking at the Christmas tree. I was a single father of 3 young kids, youngest being 4 years old.
Wow.
I was looking at the Christmas tree and I was wondering, what can I get for my kids that pointed towards God and not just Pokemon and everything else that's
Yeah.
out there. And I looked it up, and the closest thing I found was maybe something called VeggieTales.
Mm-hmm.
I looked up other things. I saw David and Goliath toys, but it was just them wearing loincloths and throwing a rock.
Yeah.
And I would have almost guaranteed they would have cried if I got that for them for Christmas.
Right.
So I had a vision. Maybe I could come up with something.
Yeah.
And having a background of designing one of the most iconic toy lines in history, maybe I can chime in and come out with something that kids will like, not cry when they receive them at Christmas time.
Yeah.
And
I feel like you're the perfect person to have this idea, though, right? Because you've done all these iconic, you're like, God chose you for this purpose. I love that.
There was a bunch of other lines, not just Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and
Yeah.
Happy Meals and Star Trek that I worked on.
Yeah.
So these visions would come to me. And really, through prayer, I was getting these inspiration and ideas. And the first drawings came out, and I didn't like it. It was okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because it wasn't perfect, it lasted 12 years for me to finally say, I got it. And it was my wife, Gloria, she told me something. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to stop being such a control freak and just let it happen. And within 6 months, we were able to get from design to sculpt to 3D printing to painting and being at Comic-Con in July of this year. And people loved it.
I think that's amazing. And I agree with your wife. I think sometimes it's easy for us to get caught up in making it just right and figuring it out. But sometimes we just have to release it and just see what God wants to do with that thing. So I'm glad you did.
Me too.
Tell me a little bit more about Ancientz. What are they exactly, and what makes it different from other toys that are out there?
So a little bit about Ancientz. The origin story I have is pretty clear. Who they are, how they came to be. Originally, I didn't have a story. I just wanted to come out with these cool figurines and toys. That's where I come from. I'm not a writer. Maybe I'll connect with a phenomenal writer sooner than later to come out with the whole story, the episodes and all that. But the idea was, imagine robots being run by spirits, not humans, because I was a big RoboCop fan growing up.
Yeah.
And you know how the Power Rangers, they have the robot forms, but they operate it.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if the robots were operated by spirits. So the origin story goes, there's a technology company that came out with this orb with strands that light up and that could manifest spirits into physical form. So it came to be, but they tried to summon the spirits, but it didn't work. But there was one book called the Bible where the spirits were so strong that it would actually work.
Yeah.
So one of the lead scientists named Professor Ball saw an opportunity and stole that technology and went in the Bible, pulled up Goliath, Sisera, Pharaoh, Jezebel, anybody bad that he can bring in and take over the world and be his own God. Now the protagonists, like David, Deborah, Noah, Moses, their eyes light up and they're able to control the robots. And you know how superheroes like Superman, and they all have their strength?
Mm-hmm.
They're weak. You have David, who was a small shepherd boy who beat a giant Goliath.
Mm-hmm.
And we have Gideon, who was terrified, but listened to God. So these characters are not superheroes where they have super strength. They depend on God. They fight with faith, not by their own strength.
That's so cool. And if you are listening to this episode right now, instead of watching it on our YouTube channel, you don't know that he's holding up some amazing action figures. So if you want to go check out and see what he's talking about, you can go to our YouTube channel and watch the same episode. But okay, so how many different characters do you have? Like how many action figures are there?
Well, how many characters are in the Bible?
Oh, wow. Okay.
No. I'm starting out. I can only afford to start with 8. And the 8 that came to me was starting with the Legends figurine line. They're figurines.
Mm-hmm.
We're hoping that one day a toy company will partner with us and make the action figures that actually articulate. Figurines are more collectible. You put on your shelf. There's a lot of companies that do that. And we're starting with that. But we're also doing the mini Ancientz. That was the main bigger one. This is the mini Ancientz that you can actually use as a keychain.
Oh, that's really cool. That's cute.
This is David, the small version of David.
Okay.
So we have 8 characters. David, we have Noah, we have Gideon and Joshua. And we're also, for females, we have Deborah and Rahab. And for the evil characters, we have back here, turning around, that's my favorite, Sisera, which is a Canaanite army captain. And we have Goliath.
I love Goliath and his armor. Now, I'm familiar with a lot of these legends because they come from Hebrews 11, the Hall of Faith. So these like faithful, is that where you got your inspiration for these characters?
Yeah, I mean, the original name was Prophets before, but then Gloria saw a sermon by Tim Keller who was talking about Hebrews 11. And we had some trademark issues with that prophet's name. So we were searching and praying for it. And then somehow she saw that and it fit perfectly.
And I love that book of the Bible because, like you said, all of the people that are in this like Hall of Faith, like, you know, the person that wrote Hebrews is telling the people, these are people to look up to because they had great faith. But if you look at their stories, they messed up a lot and they were terrified and weak and they made mistakes. And so I love that is where we have to look to get our faith because it lets us know we don't have to be perfect.
Absolutely. Was it 2 Corinthians 12:9 talks about how God works through our weaknesses, not our strength. And we rely on him for our strength. And that was pretty powerful.
Yeah. So if a family were to get these figurines, what would you say that this offers families that are interested in getting these for their family?
They're figurine collectibles.
Okay.
They're not cheap to make, so they're more expensive. They start from the $300 range, and that we have a smaller Goliath and a large Goliath, and they can go up to $1,500. So this is not a toy, but we have the miniature versions, like I said, that are like $30. We're hoping that people will just collect a lot of these in the beginning.
Yeah.
Before actual action figures come out, maybe like Playmates or Mattel might come and say they want to license it out to create toys. But for now, we're having a Kickstarter launching on August 19th. You can see it on our website, ancientz.com. That's ancient with the Z.
Yeah.
And we're hoping to get these out maybe next year, February or April. We're trying to raise money, Kickstarter or friends and family who can help us to get there. We're hoping that, God will open doors for that to happen.
I love that. And for those people that are listening that are interested in this, then you want to help get this started because this does sound like something that a lot of families, I think, would appreciate having toys that help point their kids to heroes of the faith. Why do you think that's so important for families to be thinking about and teaching our kids about heroes of the faith?
I live in Southern California. I have 3 kids I raised here, and they're older now, 21 to 16 years old. And, as a single dad trying to raise kids and the public school system and everything, and it's a rough world out there. The types of movies and everything on social media points us away from God and just thinking so worldly, right? So we need something, at least something little like them or something that they can connect with and relate to that will show them that these Bible stories are great. They're cool. They're not ancient old stuff. The ancients are actually stories that can inspire you today even. And that's important to me.
Absolutely. And I think it's important too for our kids to have things that, toys and fun things they can play with that also help them to be reminded of God's word. Because we're not always going to be sitting reading the Bible, right? So we want to have things that we can do that kind of point us back to our faith. We'll be right back after this. You know, raising kids in the digital age isn't easy, but Bark Technology makes products that help parents keep their kids safe online and in real life. They have an app, a phone, and a home device that lets families set parental controls on their internet-connected devices. I love the app because it helps us manage screen time and blocks websites and apps we want our kids to avoid. It also sends alerts and gives us the ability to monitor texts and social media and even track your child's location. Visit bark.us to learn more about how you can keep your kids safe online. Use the code COLLIDEKIDS to get 15% off your subscription of the Bark app.
Yeah, something that we always wrestle with is a lot of what we do from the church, from the Bible level. It just seems a lot of things seemed a little outdated. Something that kids will not relate to well. Almost like when I ask them to read the Bible, it's like doing homework. I want it to be more of an inspiration. These stories are great. I met somebody at Comic-Con and he really liked what we were doing. He was the artist Sergio Cabriello, but he's the guy who illustrated the entire Action Bible.
Action Bible. Yeah, I know that name.
It was great to meet him because
Yeah.
I got all my kids through the Action Bible. I read it multiple times. And I was always wondering, how did one person draw all these pages?
Yeah.
And I met him. He said it took 3 years to do it.
Wow.
That made the Bible reading a lot easier for me because kids could actually see the pictures and the artwork looked great.
And I think I agree with you. I think the Bible is awesome. I think there's stories in the Bible that you're like, I can't believe they put this in the Bible. You know, sometimes there's moments that are spicy and probably not appropriate for young kids, but it's so interesting. Like there's action and there's battles and there's stories of adventure and all these things where people followed God. And so if we tell kids that the Bible is boring, they're going to miss out.
One of the things that I wanted to really do with the Ancientz characters, and this is one of the key features that I wanted to do, is I wanted a way for just everybody. You don't have to be a believer. You don't have to come from a faith household, but just love the characters. They look cool. The story's good, but they all have a story that come from the Bible. And like, for instance, Noah, I put Genesis 7.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, his name on top. So I want to kind of stir up some interest and curiosity for people to say, what is Genesis 7? And look in and read the story. If you connect with your characters well enough, you may be curious enough to learn more about them and see where they come from. And, one day, hopefully we get so big, these characters make it out to Africa or other parts of the world, and where they don't have access to the Bible, they'll be curious. They might look it up.
Yeah.
So that's one of the you can say my mission in spreading the Bible stories all throughout the world in a fun way.
I love that. Let's do it. Let's go. So we need people to get into your Kickstarter and help raise the money so we can do that. I love that. You mentioned that you wanted Ancientz to be in like movies and go far beyond toys. So what is your dream, aside from the toys just being all over the world? What is your dream for this project?
When I first brought up the idea, I got a lot of negativity. No, nothing with Christian themes, nothing biblical, nothing religious is going to do well. I mean, you're just shooting yourself to come out with something that's biblical. But I really feel these characters, the stories that could be made is strong enough that it could get into pop culture. People might love it as much as they like the Ninja Turtles, the X-Men. If we can fight that battle, get out there, and perhaps Ancientz could be a Netflix animation series, a video game for PlayStation, get out there to the movie theaters and get into shelves all over through action figures. How great would that be? And then you're really spreading the Bible messages to that level globally like that. That would be a great mission for me to have.
I love that. I hope that happens. I think that's amazing.
We need your help and prayers.
That's right. Absolutely. So tell us where we can find out more about Ancientz and learn more about you and your toys that you're putting together.
We put a lot of emphasis on Instagram. We don't have a lot of followers now, but everything starts from ground zero.
Mm-hmm.
Our Instagram is, again, it's Ancientz with a Z, okay? It's Ancientz_official. That's our Instagram handle. If you can find us there, please follow us, and you can see what's happening, the whole process of how we started, and new characters that's going to come out. But our website, Ancientz.com, has our Kickstarter link on there. So please go to Ancientz.com. It's right on the top. You can support us at Kickstarter. It will start August 19th and end October 1st. So that's how you can help us. And
Very
please
cool.
spread the news and share with everyone. If anyone knows Scotty Scheffler, please let them know about this. I'll do a Scotty Scheffler version of the Ancientz toy and present it to you. If anyone knows Tim Tebow, Carrie Underwood,
All
or
right.
Selena Gomez, we need a connection.
There you go. I love it. Let's do it. Let's get the word out. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today and for sharing all of this. This has been so fun, and I've loved learning about your story and about the origins of how you got started. So this is really cool that God's put this passion in you and this purpose. So I'm excited for you. Before I let you go, I always ask my guests to tell me a memory from when they were a kid. So do you have a memory you want to share with us today?
Well, since we're on the subject of toys, I have a lot of toy memories, and it's not a memory, it's a time that I remember. Before Ninja Turtles were big, the biggest toys were from Hasbro. It was the Star Wars action figures. And when I was a kid, that was all the rave, and we used to collect them. And I remember these memories of collecting as many as I can. You know, my parents can't afford every single one of them, but whatever I got, it was C-3PO or a stormtrooper. We would always put it in our pockets and take it to school.
Yeah.
And the other kids would share what we got. We would offer a trade. I miss those days. And if you're a kid watching, please enjoy that time because it goes by so quickly.
Yes, so true. All the toy memories that we have. And it's funny too when when you're an adult and you find one of those toys again and you're like, "Oh, I still love it."
Yeah, I still have a couple.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love that. Well, thank you so much for being on the show today and for sharing your story. This was great meeting you.
Well, thanks so much, Christen, for having me on. It's been fun.
That was so amazing. I love his story. Wouldn't it be so cool to be a toy designer? Wouldn't that be a really cool job? I think that's amazing. And I love that he has taken that experience that he had working with Star Wars and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and now he's filled with so much purpose. Howard shared that he learned to give his problems to God through prayer and learning to trust in God, and it actually changed his life forever. He found his source of strength, hope, and wisdom through God. And he found a new source of ideas and creativity. Isn't that amazing that God gives us so much and he gives it within the gifts and the talents that we already have? Having a background in creating such iconic toy lines gave him this inspiration to create a new toy line that points kids and families to Bible heroes of the faith. You know, there's so much in the world today that points us away from God. So having toys and figurines like what he's creating, that points kids back to the Bible and inspires us to be faithful. If you'd like to learn more about Ancientz, you can head over to their website. That's Ancientz spelled with a Z.com. And I would encourage you, if this is something that you're excited about, head over to the show notes where I have a link to the Kickstarter where you can be a part of helping propel this project and get it out there. I think this is going to be awesome. All right, now it's time for one of my favorite parts of the show. It's our family discussion segment. This is where I'm going to ask you a few fun questions to help keep the conversation going based on our interview today. So you can pause after each question and talk about it if you're in the car together or sitting around listening, or you can listen to all the questions at once and pick the one you like the most, or talk about all three of them later, whatever works best for your family. So here we go. Let's talk about it. Think about your favorite toy that's based on a hero or a movie or a TV show. What do you like about that character, and how do they remind you to live with courage? Okay, here's the second one. Howard talked today about using his creativity to honor God. What are some creative gifts or talents that God has given you, and how can you use them to glorify and honor God in your life? And the last one. Howard had a big change in his life when he decided to follow God's purpose. Can you think of a time when God helped you make a change or gave you a new idea? Well, I hope those questions spark some great ideas and conversations with your family. Hey, if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to follow along on social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Collide Kids Pod, and you can share this episode with a friend who might need some encouragement. And don't forget about my other podcast, 7-Minute Devotions for Busy Parents. Be sure to follow along. That's brand new. And so I would love for you to jump in on that and listen. And I hope that encourages you and your family. You can also visit collidekidspodcast.com for more episodes. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for the monthly newsletter where I'll send out information about upcoming episodes. And sometimes I throw in a fun recipe or some family activity ideas. It's all good. And I try to only do it once a month because it's a lot. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can get the full interview from today's episode. And if you'd like to go a step further in supporting the show, leave a rating and a review on whatever podcast app you're using. And you can find all the links on our website to shop through our Amazon account or support through Buy Me a Coffee. And of course, your prayers mean so much to me as I'm doing this ministry. Thank you for praying for me each week and for supporting this show. Well, in case no one has told you today, I would love to be the first to remind you that God loves you so much. Thank you for listening.
Looking for help and hope can be a chore, and you don't need any more of those. So consider downloading the River mobile app. It's a radio station committed to playing songs that will lift you up and help you out no matter what you're going through. Songs from artists like Lauren Daigle, Zach Williams, and Toby Mac. It's totally free with no subscriptions. Just search 1049 The River in your app store or listen online at riverradio.com.